learning in the Mishnah Reb Chananya ben Doisa Oimer Rabbi Isai. What a Mishnah this is. Reb Chananya ben Doisa Oimer. Listen to this Mishnah. This is an incredible Mishnah. Kol sheyiras chetoi koidemes lochochmosoi. Okay, listen carefully because we have to understand the explanation of this Mishnah. Kol sheyiras chetoi, if your fear of sin precedes lochochmosoi, your wisdom, chochmosoi miskayemes. V'chol shechochmosoi koidemes liyiras chetoi, but if your wisdom precedes your fear of chet, of sin, ein chochmosoi miskayemes. All the wisdom you have will not last, will not endure. That's what it is. David, second. And therefore the Mishnah is telling us a gewaltig yesod. The Mishnah is telling us that really what we're meant to have, and it's what it sounds like, just before we start that, just to remember who's Reb Chanina ben Doisa. Reb Chanina ben Doisa basically belonged to a first generation of Tanoim, and he had a very, almost like Chavrusa, with the Yochanan ben Zakkai, the Gemara in Brachos Lamed Daled tells us that. So we're dealing with obviously one of the very, very, very big Tanoim, and he told us this yesod. Now we have to understand what this yesod means. It almost sounds like before a person should learn Torah, before acquiring Torah, a person requires Yiras Chet, Yiras HaShem, which is an incredible thing because we also know there's a Mishnah that we learned previously, if you remember, Ein Bo Yiras Chet. That means what's a bor? Someone that's not someone well versed in Torah cannot have Yiras HaShem. So it sounds like there's a stira. Which way round is it? Is it that a person should have Yiras Chet first, or is it that a person should have Torah first? So there are many answers to this seemingly contradiction, but on a simple level, the answer would probably be that even before a person learns Torah, he has to understand, and this is possibly the continuation to yesterday's Mishnah, is a person has to know what does the Torah bring? What is the goal of Torah? What is the goal of learning Torah? The goal is Yiras HaShem. The ultimate goal is fear of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Maral Miprag in the Sefer Derech Chaim explains what is the connection between this Mishnah and the one we learned yesterday, and he explains that after yesterday's Mishnah, Rav Dustai, if you remember, Kol HaShacher Tova Mishnasai, someone that forgets something of his learning, Mischayev Benafshai. So Reb Chanina is telling us over here that your Chachma, the wisdom that you do acquire, that you have already acquired, will have no kiyum if you don't have Yiras Chet, if you don't have fear of sin. And that's a very, very important thing that we have to realize, that Yiras HaShem. And I was discussing with Nosameh this morning, what does it mean, Yiras Chet, Yiras HaShem? What exactly, how do we define it? Mamash Hashkocha Pratis that we're discussing this morning, before I even noticed what Mishnah it was. I prepared this shit after we learned, by the way. That's not a good thing. But anyway, Akoponim, I should have spent hours and hours. I didn't have so much time, so Baruch Hashem. Siyaf Dishmaya. But we had this Hashkocha Pratis that we discussed. What does it mean? The Torah tells us that Yaakov was very, very scared. Chazal tell us that what does it mean? He was scared of losing his olam haba, of doing averos. What does the Rebbeinu Shalom want from us? What's the mahalach hachaim? How are we meant to live? We're meant to be scared. We're meant to be nervous. We're meant to be nervous wrecks. We're meant to be anxious. So we came up with a good word. What was the word that we came up with? Awareness. That the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to be constantly aware of Him. Now, it doesn't just mean just an awareness, because we said if a person does an Avera with an awareness of God, it might even be worse, because you're aware of God and you're still doing the Avera. Like, hello, it's like Kaviyach a slap in the face, if we can say that. But the idea is, the person's meant to know where he's going, the goal that he's reaching. Right? We're discussing this a lot in the 7 habits. Habit number 2 is a goal. Very important that everything we do have goals. It's very, very important. And that's what the Maral Miprag says, that yes, we're meant to learn, but what's the goal of learning? The goal of learning is Yiras HaShem, Yiras Chet. That doesn't mean a person should be anxious, should be nervous, maybe I'm doing a favor, maybe I'm saying Lashon Hara, maybe I'm doing this wrong, maybe this wrong. By the way, the Chofetz Chaim brings that one of the atzas, one of the ways that the Yetzer Hara gets you is he says, you're not able to speak. Why are you not able to speak? Because everything you say is Lashon Hara. He gets you nervous. Everything's Lashon Hara, I can't do the whole thing. A person can't be nervous. Yiddishkeit is not about being nervous. That's not what Yiddishkeit is. Yiddishkeit, darach yinoyam. It's beautiful. It's geschmack. It's wonderful. Yiddishkeit is gewaldig. But you have to know there's a balance. That balance is that even if you go on vacation, and even if you go sit by the beach, which is very relaxing, very geschmack, and often very necessary, Right? We know we're very into trips over here. There's a reason for it, not because we like going on trips, because it's refreshing. It recharges the batteries. It's a very, very essential part of life. But even when you're relaxing and you're enjoying yourself, it has to be with the balance of Yiras Hashem. There's got to be an awareness. There's got to be on some level of fear, that not a fear that makes you anxious and makes you nervous and makes you anxiety, but you have to realize there's the Rabbanu Shalom, and there's going to be din v'cheshbon after 120 years, and I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And that's why the Mishnah tells us very, very clearly that if you don't have that, your chokhmah is not going to be miskayim. All the Torah you learn is beautiful, but where's it getting you? It's a beautiful connection to what we said yesterday, that a person can sometimes be busy with certain things but he doesn't chap what the goal is. He could be learning Torah, but you don't think of Hashem. So we said yesterday. Today what we're saying is a continuation, is that if you don't have kol sheyiras hachetoi kedemes l'chokhmasai, then your chokhmah is miskayemes. Then the Torah you learn is miskayem, because that makes it real Torah, because you're realizing what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from you. How does a person get this level of fear, whatever fear means, however we define the word of fear and describe that word? How do you get it? So the Slonim Rebbe in the Siva Shalom on Pirkei Avos writes that one of the way he brings the Ma'orei Naim, the Heilige Ma'orei Naim in the Kutim in Parshas Baloischa, which, by the way, is this week's parsha. If there is an Ashkocha process in that, there's got to be that. We're doing this Mishnah right before Shabbos, or Parshas Baloischa. It's beautiful. So he writes that Shabbos Kodesh is the way to receive perfection in this area, and he brings down that the Tikkunei Zoya says that the letters of the first word in the Torah, Bereshis, is a base, and when you rearrange it, it's Yirei Shabbos, right? And therefore it implies that there's a connection between Shabbos and Yira. And therefore, says the Tikkunei Zoya, brings down the Nesiva Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, that the idea is Shabbos gives a person that Yira. And the idea probably is because when a person is keeping Shabbos, when a person is in awe of Shabbos, he has a certain fear, so it's realization, a connection to Hashem the whole time. That's what Shabbos is. Shabbos, as Rosh Hashanah Pinchas writes, is the only mitzvah that there's a Kabbalah Shabbos. Is there a law of Kabbalah's matzah? Right before you eat matzah, Kabbalah's matzah, or Kabbalah's daled minim, Kabbalah's tefillin. No such thing. You just do it. Put on the tefillin, you eat the matzah, and light the menorah. Shabbos is the only thing. There's a Kabbalah Shabbos. Because Shabbos, the Rebbeinu Shalom, is coming into our homes. He's a guest in our house, and we're constantly together with him. There's an awe of Shabbos, and there's meant to be that awe of the Rebbeinu Shalom all of the time. Very, very important thing, and a person has to realize that a person can also ask the following question. Maybe this is what we were dealing with. How can you be close to Hashem if you're scared of Hashem? Isn't the definition of Yira, there's a certain distance, right? If we translate it as being scared, so if you're scared of Hashem, you want to get close to Hashem. Hashem's your father. Hashem loves you. You're meant to love him. You're meant to be close to him. Whatever that means on a spiritual level. How do we become close to Hashem if we're meant to be scared of Hashem? We can ask that question, by the way, of our parents. We're meant to be scared of our parents, but we're also meant to love our parents. So what does that mean? So I want to tell you again something that the Nesiva Shalom, the Shalom Rebbe, quotes the Prioritz, that he says that there's a degree of Yiras Hashem that has the opposite effect. And that's what the level of the Zoya refers to as Yiras Hashem l'chaim. Fear of Hashem for life. It's the highest level of Yira of Hashem. That means this form of Yira has the power to propel us towards the Rebbeinu Shalom, to the point that we have Dveikus even more than Ava. Ava is one of the highest levels. The highest level of anything relationship is Ava, love. Our love between husband and wife. Love between you and Hashem is one of the highest level. But, says the Prioritz, there's a type of level which is a Yira, which propels you closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom, which gets you even higher than Ava. And that's the level that we're looking for. It's that connection. It's that awareness that whatever you do, whether you're learning, whether you're driving, whether you're working, whether you're in the street, whatever it is, you're always with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Constantly. And that saves you from doing Aveira. That's what the Mishnah is telling us. Kol sheyiras chetoi, kodemes l'chachosai, then your chachma will be miskayim. If not, it won't be miskayim. Because everything you learn is worthless. If you've got no Yiras Hashem, if you don't fear Hashem, if there's no awareness of Hashem, what are you doing? Let me just end with a Moedika Maisa from the Heilige Reb Melech Lezhensk. The Moed Melech was once heard by one of his Talmidim giving himself Musa. Now, we all heard stories of the Chofetz Chaim, but this is incredible. The Moed Melech was giving himself tremendous Musa. And he was talking to himself as if he was the biggest Balavera ever existed. Mamash giving himself Musa, terrible things he was saying about himself. One of his Talmidim came over to him and said, Rebbe, how can you talk this way? How can you say things about yourself that are not even true? This Aveira and terrible Aveiras and not even true. I understand you want to give yourself Musa, but to say things that are not true, Mechtaisa. Listen to the answer that Reb Melech gave. He said as follows. He said there was once a king who wanted to redesign his palace and of all the whole royal situation, the surroundings. One of the laborers who worked at the construction of the new palace bore a grudge against the king, and he intentionally dug the foundation 10 meters in the opposite direction. Now, eventually it was detected, and when it was detected, they took this worker and they whipped him, and he was made to fill up the ditch that he dug. Now, the jeweler who was designed the task of preparing the diamond that was going to be the centerpiece of the crown was negligent. And he deviated a fraction of a millimeter in cutting the diamond, and the beauty of the whole diamond was ruined, and he was given a lengthy prison sentence for his negligence. How is it, asked the Noam Elimelech, that the jeweler, whose error was a fraction of a millimeter, right? A deviation that was nothing compared to the laborer who dug a hole of 10 meters in the wrong direction, and he was given such a severe punishment. He was given a few whips and go weiter. This guy was given years in prison. What's the pshat? And the answer is, someone who works with crown jewels has a much bigger responsibility than someone who digs foundations. Even the minutest deviation is a serious offense. Said the Noam Elimelech, it's the same thing with Aveira. The same thing with Aveira, right? We only have limited spiritual resources. Every sin is terrible. It causes tremendous tumor in the world. It causes a richuk, a distance between us and the Rabbeinu Shalom. If a person whose spirituality should be of the highest order, then it means the expectation is also much greater. And therefore for him, even a tiny, tiny little deviation, which could be a quarter of a millimeter, but for him, that's a very serious offense. Said the Noam Elimelech, with the type of teachers and rebbes that I had, with the knowledge that I have, I'm falling very short of my mark. Rabbi Elimelech famously said that I'm confident I'm going to get to Gan Eden. So he said by himself, I'm vade going to Gan Eden. So when they asked him, how's it going to be? How do you know? So he said, very simple. He said, I'm going to go to Yeshiva Shalmaila, and they're going to say to him, Melech, did you learn Torah the way you meant to learn Torah? He's going to say, no, I didn't. Melech, did you do the mitzvahs that you were meant to, the way you're meant to do them? He's going to say, no, I didn't. They're going to say, okay, in that case, Melech is saying the truth, you can go to Gan Eden. That's what Melech said about himself. In other words, he understood, and Tzaddikim were like this, they understood where they were holding, they understood the expectations of themselves. We're not holding on that level, or maybe I speak for myself. I'm not holding on that level. Maybe some other people are. But wherever we're holding, wherever is expected of ourselves, we have to realize, Yiras HaShem means an awareness of the Rabbeinu Shalom, an understanding that we're meant to be living with the Rabbeinu Shalom in everything we do and everywhere we go. And that awareness helps us, not only not to do Averis, but also to make sure, as the Mishnah tells us over here, that our Chokhmah is Miskayim. Okay, tomorrow the next Mishnah, Be'ez Hashem.